next to me, there's just a plain new Orin J4012, pretty mainstream Jetson device. We hit add device, and it's the J4012 that we're going to add. You hit generate command. And now I've got this sort of one-off install command. And you can see here, this is not just a view of the camera. This is actually a view of the output of the computer vision application. It's detecting cars, and you might update your app to track numbers of cars, or in your industrial use case, number of items on a line. Imagine a world where you work in an industrial setting and you're making a lot of things. So you might have a food processing line and you're using Vision AI for, let's say, checking the container lid. So you've used Roboflow to build your vision model and deploy it, and you've deployed one solution. That's for some of our customers kind of fine, but for most of our customers, you have this problem not in just one location. You might have multiple lines, multiple factories, and so you run into the whole problem of how do I actually deploy my solution at scale and manage it. And so coming back to Round, that's what we're talking about today of how do you go from, let's say, raw hardware to a deployment of a computer vision application that you may have in one location across n number of locations and manage that on an ongoing basis. Specifically, what we're going to really be doing today is, if you just think of like, hey, I bought a device, I haven't done anything to it really. Like I've essentially just maybe been able to SSH over to it, so I have access to the terminal or command line. How easy it is with the Roboflow Deployment Manager to, we've done all the sort of nitty gritty hard work to have your computer vision application built in Roboflow running. But then also, how do you have, let's say, your boss says, well, we want to roll this out in 20 locations. Here's 20 devices. Are you going to be provisioning and managing and scaling that by yourself? We are going to start today with looking at just the pure UI for Roboflow Deployment Manager. The place we're focused on is devices, since that's what we're really managing. This is something that's only provided to our enterprise clients, and we're looking at like a staging workspace right now. So there's, in this case, some stuff in different offices of ours. This is one that I typically kind of work on, and we're going to go through the experience of adding a new device and then look through all the management capabilities once you kind of do that. So next to me, which you can't see here, is there's just a plain new Orin J4012, right? So kind of a pretty mainstream Jetson device. And we have done really nothing to it except we just have a terminal running. Let's make sure that terminal didn't die. Yep, we're good. Okay. So from that point, I can say hit add device. Let's just say it's little MC, sort of our New York kind of moniker that we use, and it's the J4012 that we're going to add. Just an arbitrary name. You hit generate command. And now I've got this sort of one-off install command, similar to if you're using Tailscale or any other kind of service that you're used to having a great developer experience. And I'm going to paste that in, and it's going to execute. And it's now doing a whole bunch of things and checking the device, making sure it's compatible. It's downloading and making sure that it's able to kind of install all of its dependencies. And because we also allow HMIs to be deployed on devices through Deployment Manager, it's checking to see if Chromium installed, and it looks like we're good to go. And so at this point, when we come back here, like this, let's just reload this to kind of give it a good clean view. We have this here, and it's already running, which means the tooling that is managing the device is already phoning home. You can see that we got a device heartbeat just a few seconds ago, and they do phone home pretty quickly. So this lets you know, imagine someone in some factory in a different location pull the power on the thing. Like, how would you know? This is kind of how you could do that. We'll jump into the specific device and add a stream. But really quickly, just from this list, you have sort of your general device management kind of capabilities. Let's say you've configured one device a certain way and you want to duplicate it. You can duplicate it, restart the services, see its status, and you can also make edits across multiple devices if you need to, because sometimes you may have, say, devices with a certain configuration, a certain factory, and change your versions. We'll talk later about inference and manager. So kind of the two core services that are at the heart of the way we deploy computer vision applications. We are going to jump into this new device, and you'll see that we have some tabs here, some kind of general status. We'll jump into looking at the logs configuration, alerts, resources in a second. The thing we care about is streams, right? So we're going to hit add stream, and I'm going to call this the say SF stream, because that's actually we have a public stream that we kind of provide for ourselves for testing. It's just a camera based in San Francisco. You can configure your kind of input, right, for computer vision application. It could be RTSP, it could be a Basler, Lucid, or USB camera. All of those are supported. And then I just have really quickly, this is the kind of RTSP stream that we're going to be using. And we did already talk about workflows. For those of you that aren't familiar, workflows are sort of our visual builder for computer vision applications. You know, there's a whole ecosystem for annotation, model development, and building your workflow. But you know, rather than you doing the next step of managing the device, we kind of can do that for you. So we're going to select that and hit Create Stream. So this is going to take a few minutes to kind of provision. In this case, it's downloading the weights and workflow and setting everything up. We're going to jump over really quickly to just a device that I already have running. And so this is one that's same process occurred a little bit ago, but it's running 2 streams. And we'll kind of talk through what you can now see on the streams as well as the device. So I can see right now that those 2 streams are running. They're running this same detect, count, and visualize workflow. Just to give you context, I'll pull that up so you can kind of see it. So it takes the input, which is the image, runs an object detection model, draws bounding boxes around it, counts objects, throws it into the output. And there's, you know, this is probably a good source for a different presentation, but there's literally hundreds of blocks and stitching together and conditionals that you can do to build your computer vision application without having to resort at all to manual code. So we're here. This is us having jumped into that. And this actually is a live feed coming off of New York. The reason these bounding boxes are kind of big is actually intentional. I was fiddling with it, so they don't have to be that unusually large or opaque in color. But this is kind of cool. Like you've got something running live, and you know I'm not in New York right now, but I'm kind of able to see like, is this thing at a low FPS? It's kind of showing me frames, even in this generalized central cloud environment. Is it running, and what does it see? Sometimes you have cases where like the camera's there, but someone jarred it and you spend a bunch of time debugging it. And, you know, from the technicals, you can't see that like the camera's pointed in the wrong direction because someone bumped it at the factory, or like we've had a case where there's like, you know, goop from yogurt or something that splashed on the camera. Like you just have to be able to see. You can change those configurations on the right and preview the workflow. And then for each device on top of that, instead of looking at sort of your stream and your kind of the computer vision application, you have the ability to manipulate your streams. You can pause, you can terminate, add more streams. And so kind of the magic of Deployment Manager is like, you're not installing any applications. Like these kind of are mini applications. Like we're handling all of the back and forth for you. But then more from a device management, or sometimes for, you know, things can go awry. You want to be able to look at the logs from that device. And are you going to have, say, provision SSH and whatever to every single device? Well, you want to just look at the things that are related to just specifically the device. And we have, you know, you can look at the services. In this case, I've added more services on this device because it's doing a bit more time range. You could think of like your cloud viewer light. And that's kind of all here in one unified interface where you're already building your computer vision application in case you're trying to see if something went wrong. I'll jump over configuration for a second because that's like your power menu. Device alerts. You want to be able to see if, let's say, a device is going offline, disk is going high on a stream, you know, which camera is it? Is the frames per second dropping in a funky way? So if you have hundreds of devices, we can kind of help you know someone at some factory said something's wrong. You can kind of be alerted before that happens across your whole fleet. And then also resource monitoring. So very simple kind of visualization of, is anything wrong with this device? Looks like we're doing a really good job of using a lot of the GPU, which we like. We're not using CPU. You can look at container status. Behind the scenes, we're running pretty heavily on Docker, being able to view hardware information. Maybe someone manually went on there and NTP no longer works, and that's why your device is down. Or someone did an upgrade for at some package level that they're not supposed to manually. You have all of that visibility. And on top of it, you have other options: restarting, setting a maintenance window for updates, etc. I'll jump into configuration now because this is the power tools menu that you may never need to go into, but you can also kind of learn. You can add custom code that runs with every single frame. Um, you can add additional services. We have some CAN services like an HMI that can run directly on the device, a local data store. This is a sort of local database that you can cache data into if you're then proxying it to other internal services. If you're doing some testing, you can take any video and create an RTSP stream to simulate how it would run. And that's what we have on this particular device. So a whole bunch of tools, and then if you go into each one, inference being generally the one that's the one running the computer vision model, you have what seems like a lot of options, but this is where you actually need to dive into, configuring and environment variables, TensorRT, volume mounts, etc. In this case, it's even helping me know that there's a new version of the core inference package that we maintain to be able to run your computer vision application, and there's a newer version available. And so you may want to have automatic updates. You may want to be able to control that manually and see what's in that update to decide if you want to apply it. Some of these seem kind of mundane, but I think if you've ever tried to deploy these kinds of things at scale, this is kind of all stuff that we found every customer was rebuilding from scratch on every deployment. And it just felt like a very similar problems that we wanted to offer the batteries included solution, where you may not have a team focusing on how to get all these things to work reliably at scale. And we can devote that level of resources across all of our customers. So, and I've thrown a lot of information at you, a lot of screens. I'm going to jump back over here, and looks like it was provisioned. It's running. So we can even see the camera's giving us 30 FPS. We're running at 11. I can almost guarantee you that's because by default, just for compatibility, we have not enabled TensorRT, and we could, and it would just take a few minutes to come back up, but we'll skip that. But hopefully that gives you some insight into, like, rather than fiddling with things at a low level, you can kind of get this higher level abstraction that you learn once. So we can come in here, and within a few seconds, it'll start asking the device to start sending back, a frame or two, so we can kind of get that visibility. You can also, we have tools where if you have direct access to the device not in the cloud platform, you can see a kind of a close to real-time view with the object detections. And you can see here, this is not just a view of the camera, this is actually a view of the output of the computer vision application. It's detecting cars, and you might update your app to say track numbers of cars, or in your industrial use case, number of items on a line. And you can update that in this visual workflow. As you can kind of see here, we went from kind of a clean device to one command and a little bit of web configuration. All of the mess of getting your weights and workflows and all that stuff and everything running on a device is kind of done. And if tomorrow I got angry and went to one of those, what are those called, like smash rooms or something, and decided to take this device like Office Space style and smash this thing, and someone's like, oh, what do we do? You can just recreate the device in exactly the same format, exactly the same connectivity and connections by just buying a new device, running that command, and applying the same configuration values.